Hello and welcome to Hashtag Matters, the show that will wrestle that burrito out of your hand for a bite. I'm your host, Sheepdog David Grant, and with me as always is my co-host, Stella Ingram.
What kind of burrito are we talking about?
I don't know, California burrito. 5 episodes in, and already they've been so many heavy topics. This past week, well, the news wasn't pretty. But don't worry, we're doing a 5-part special on the terrible shooting in Las Vegas and the culture surrounding gun violence, but that's not for now.
Instead, we're going to take a moment to puncture the dense bubble that has been encompassing us. Today, we'll take a break from the darkness of the world.
And take a trip instead to a darkened sanctuary where lights and light, pictures and light, are larger than life. Today, we're talking about films.
You mean the talkies?
Yeah, the talkies, yeah. Okay, so we're discussing remakes, reboots, and cinematic universes. But first, let's introduce our panel of guests. We have our first returning guest, my old pal, Mike Maletic.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me back on. And I just want to get it right off the bat that I think it might want to look at calling it the Stella Show with Dave Grant.
Yeah,
I don't mean to toss that grenade in there and walk away, but discuss maybe. I don't know.
I think that's a good idea. And we have an incredible distinction today. We're joined by one of my favorite comics. His stand-up special, Sack Full of Gummy Bears, is available right now on iTunes.
Nice.
Mr. Bill Arrundale. Howdy, Bill.
Hey, guys. What's going on?
How are you, buddy? Do you have any big shows coming up?
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Check him out at the Funny Bone in Columbus, Ohio. He is a regular there. If you're in Columbus, Ohio, go see Bill. He's hilarious. He'll slay you. Before we take our seats in the balcony to heckle and jeer Hollywood, Bollywood, and the cinematic world at large, we're going to discuss today's trending topics. And this week, we're going to tell only fun stories to liven up the mood.
Yes, we'll tap that funny bone despite the fact that when it actually gets hit, it hurts.
Well, yeah, it does hurt. Let's see. Searching the news database for happy stories. Let's see. Pro-life lawmaker steps down after insisting his mistress have an abortion.
Kind of funny, but it doesn't really make me go ha-ha.
Okay.
What movie is that?
Yeah.
That is the sad cinema of real life.
Yeah.
Let's see, another funny movie that's real. Trump throws paper towels to hurricane victims after merrily comparing the record-breaking natural disaster to, quote, a real catastrophe.
It's still a catastrophe.
Yeah, okay. Here we go. This is a funny comedian Ralphie May died. Okay.
You're not trying. You're not even trying, are you?
Okay, I promise we have a good one in here if we look hard enough. Okay, here we go. Okay, this one starts off a bit rough, which you'll get in a second. It's a story about a golden retriever in Fort Myers, Florida, named Whizzer.
Whizzer?
Yes.
How did he get the name Whizzer?
Well, he is a golden retriever. Okay, anyway, Whizzer disappeared and was gone for 5 years. Hurricane Irma comes through, and a man walking along the beach finds Whizzer lying in a puddle at the beach. He's taken to the vet, his microchip is checked, and he's returned to his human. The question remains, where was Whizzer for the last 5 years? Any theories on where Whizzer, the golden retriever, may have been until Hurricane Irma brought him back home?
Was there a DeLorean spotted dropping him off?
Could be. I did hear a hit from the 80s from Huey Lewis and the News. What do you think, Mike?
I wonder when these owners of the dog are going to get hit with an abandonment of the pet. I mean, can we do that? Can we retroactively apply those crimes? Isn't that something that's getting hit with these people that leave these areas? They're getting also hit or shamed for leaving their pets behind. Is that another case of this? And
no, because
maybe
it was
karma.
5 years before.
I know. I'm just laying out a scenario.
No, Mike.
Because I have nothing to like. Where was he? Man.
Yeah.
Doing dog stuff, I imagine, and doing it well enough to survive.
Just imagine.
Good on him.
He was gone for what? That's like 60 dog years. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And where do you think? Well, have you ever met a pet with an unusual name like Whizzer, the golden retriever?
Like, is it everything in caps in terms of Whizzer the golden retriever, or is he just the golden retriever? His name is Whizzer. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, whether he plays basketball or not is also a big question.
Yeah.
Catching some air.
Right.
I'm just the last place.
Incredible.
Sorry, Bill. One more time.
Maybe it's for the new Incredible Journey 3 movie.
Exactly.
It could very well be.
They're going to get the monologue from his head. Maybe he had a GoPro on him somewhere, and it fell off. The dog's journey. Hopefully, keep our fingers crossed. Maybe there's a GoPro out there somebody finds.
I have a theory because somebody actually did recently reveal a tape from Russia with Whizzer on it, from what I understand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah? Do tell. Do you know more?
Nope, but let's move on to the next story. So Clackamas County, Oregon. Sheriff Craig Roberts retrieved an anonymous letter alleging his deputies did a photo shoot at the county courthouse after hours. A photo shoot for a nude calendar. In the 12-month spread meant for a retiring county employee, the letter said the nude deputies hid their genitals with gun belts, a fireman's hat, another nude deputy, an assault rifle, and a cat. Mike, Bill, what would you need to block out your genitals?
10-gallon hat. Stovepipe. Lincoln stovepipe. I'll go with that. And the thing is, nobody can provide any counter evidence to that, so I'm fine with that.
Well, I'll take the opposite end, and I'll go with shot glass.
Oh,
Clear
just
shot
sausage it in there, or is it going to be like a big hollow canyon?
Now, Bill,
Shot glass that says "Wine 'em, dine 'em, 69" on the side.
Yeah, all the way around, so it's thick. Right, gotcha.
So, Bill, in your business, comedians, there's a lot of lookers. Have you guys ever thought about doing your own 12-month nude calendar spread?
Unless we were going to sell it as trash can liner, I don't think anybody would buy it.
My bird needs something to poop on. That's great.
And don't you become a comedian to kind of counter those impulses, like should they arrive? Like that's why you became a comedian, so that you're not stripping somewhere in a calendar, I imagine.
Right. I mean, the year just gets sadder as you go on, you know?
Yes.
It starts off going to the gym and being all hopeful and resourceful. By the end of it, it's just a tub of ice cream and cookies and a Santa hat somewhere.
December, recreating that scene from Shawshank where he hangs himself from the rafter.
Inscribe your
Dark.
yeah.
I love it.
I thought this was going to be an upper, Dave.
Oh, here's another upper. Here we go. An assignment in a 6th grade social studies class in Snellville, yes, it's a real place, Georgia, Snellville, has proven controversial. The students at Shiloh Middle School were told to design a mascot for the Nazi Party. Yes. So we're actually going to go there, and I want to hear your best pitches for mascot for the Nazi Party in 2017.
How old are these kids? What grade are they in?
They were in 6th grade. So I think they mostly probably just drew dicks.
I agree.
See, in 6th grade, they're usually at the top of the elementary school hierarchy, because then they're going to be leaving to go like middle school maybe, or junior high. I'm thinking. But they've reached the end of something in 6th grade, so it's kind of good in that's a way. It lets them get it out of their system. You know, have their little year of Lord of the Flies, get it out of their system, and then maybe they'll be more productive members of society having that under their belt. Now, remember, you told us to sell this thing. That's how I would sell it.
Stella, do you have any ideas? Oh, yes, Bill.
What about a penis, but the pubic hair is shaved into a Hitler mustache?
Oh, I'm picturing that right now, actually.
Dictator.
Yeah. Dictator. Nice.
At first, everyone will say, that's penile Charlie Chaplin, but like, no, that's penile Hitler.
Well, and the girls will have the easy one for getting a Hitler mustache. Like, that'll be really easy. Guys are more Fidel Castro with the cigar hanging out.
Are you saying that?
And the beard.
You look more like Groucho Marx.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love it.
If your nuts were on top, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I could just see the Castro.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. Okay. One more top topic. Here
let's talk about guns and shooting now.
Yeah, no. Okay, so Baltimore, Maryland has a reputation for crime and violence, speaking of which. In a Cristo Rey Jesuit high school, a strange odor was detected, and they called the fire department and a hazardous materials team. They searched the school, and they found the source of the noxious scent. It was a pumpkin spice air freshener. So this whole pumpkin spice thing, it's gotten out of hand, and I think that we should do something to talk directly to America right now and get them off of this pumpkin spice.
I was hoping you were going to say the bishop was caught fucking a pumpkin or something like
that. Well, that was last Thursday.
That's just assumed to be correct anyways.
Oh, fantastic. Stella, are you a pumpkin spicer? Do you go to Starbucks and spice it up?
Are you a pumpkin fucker?
Last I checked, no. David is not orange, but
wow.
Yeah.
Really, would it? I liked pumpkin before it was cool, man. I think pumpkin is just like the encompassing of fall, so I appreciate it. But this whole I love fall, it's the only season that ever needed to exist thing just needs to die. I mean, winter's pretty cool too, man.
Well, fall does die in winter. And
That's
so
true.
it has its time. It gets represented.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for it to die. Like I'm looking forward to winter at this point.
We just started it, and you're already wanting to kill it.
Yeah.
My whole experience with pumpkin is just carving "fuck off" kids and putting it on the porch for trick or treat.
There you go.
Keeps them
You
from
save
ringing the
on
bell.
all that candy you don't have to buy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I never really understood this whole pumpkin fascination. Speaking of Halloween, the pumpkin candy was the worst. The worst.
Yeah.
Way
Yeah,
worse.
that really yeah.
Mm.
Or
Yeah, pumpkin candies they run under that. What was it? That Andrew Thomas candy, whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
Cheap shit.
That's right. That's the neighbor you avoided the next year.
You're telling me I should just get a bunch of pumpkins, smash them into the shape of the word no on my lawn, litter a bunch of candy that's already open that's inedible, and then set it on fire on Halloween.
Yeah, if you want to go to jail.
That's my lawn.
I don't want to cause conflict, but Bill, I do have to ask, with your harsh stance on not allowing kids to come and get candy from your door, can you really critique other Halloween candy? You've taken yourself out of the conversation in that regard now.
I don't think so, Mike. I don't think so. He's saving it for himself. That's what I do. Okay, so we're gonna get to the main topic now. We've seen so many remakes, reboots, cinematic universes that are born, but it really feels like we're retreading the same things over again, and that's nothing new. This is actually a retread of retreading. It tends to happen about every 20, 30 years. We reinvent the things from 20, 30 years ago. Recently, we had Blade Runner get turned into Blade Runner 2049. We've had It come back and get retreaded, and it's retreading the 1980s instead of the 1950s, which is kind of interesting. And we've had a new Star Trek show come out. And so today we're going to talk about our favorite and our least favorite reboots, things that we'd like to see rebooted, and cinematic universes that we love and ones that we despise. So who wants to start off the round table by talking about their favorite remake or reboot? Stella, do you want to go for it? Oh, Mike. Go for it, Mike.
I'll dip my toe in the water first, because I'm not. Here's the thing. My issue with this is I'm not a big fan of reboots and such. So I really kind of stay away from them. But if we're gonna go, so I have something to say in this conversation. The Nolan Batman universe, Batman Begins, was fantastic, and that's the kind of superhero movie I want to see. I'm tapped out and burned out on the Marvel movies, and I'm kind of going to stay away from them until I hear something is really incredible that I absolutely have to see. But, I would say the best one would be the Christopher Nolan Batman films.
No, I totally agree with you, Mike. And actually, that's what I have as well. Because in 2001, the world changed, right? You had Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. You had Die Another Day with Pierce Brosnan. They had already been filmed, and they had to go back and change things. Spider-Man,
Right.
they cut the World Trade Center out of the skyline, and they got rid of the poster. They added a scene with New Yorkers saying, "You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us." And
Yeah.
they literally called Pierce Brosnan and said, "I don't think we can make more of these James Bond movies. They're just kind of silly." He had surfed down a tsunami.
Now, see, I would have said let's not make any more of them because Pierce Brosnan's the worst James Bond of all time.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
But
when I see him, I can't
Preach,
stop
brother Bill.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one because he wasn't even in Moonraker. It's so hard for me to take James Bond seriously after watching Moonraker. But
us Bond aficionados I think we kind of dismissed that one and don't like to think on that. I think we just excise it from our memories of Bond. I have to, at least.
Well, and it's interesting that you mentioned Bond because, I mentioned Bond, but Bond even got reinvented. Christopher Nolan kind of came in and showed how to reboot after 9/11. And
with the Batman movies, Batman Begins, I saw it once. I'm like, it's all right. Dark Knight I've probably seen, I don't know, a dozen times because it's a great supervillain movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dark Knight Rises, I thought was just a total shitstorm. But not at any one of those three movies that I go, all right, cool, Batman.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of Iron Man, when Tony Stark looks at the camera and says, "I am Iron Man," that's an awesome moment. But I don't really get that from Batman. I think what it is if a superhero has ears sewn into the costume, I just can't get behind it.
So Daredevil's out as well, and the rubber ear Captain America.
Yes, but I love the show.
Yeah,
I gotta say on Bill's point, he makes a good point, and I understand that. My view is the opposite in this sense. Is the feeling I get from watching the Nolan Batman trilogy is I don't feel like I'm watching a Batman movie. I feel like I'm watching a whole series of movies about Bruce Wayne. And that's why the ending of The Dark Knight Rises it rings really true and good for me, is that you see Bruce Wayne finally gets to be Bruce Wayne. That's his arc. He is not Batman anymore. He could give that up and walk away. So to me, they're not really Batman movies. They're Bruce Wayne movies to me.
That makes a lot of sense, and that's a really good point. And plus, those three movies are a self-contained universe.
Yes.
It's not like the earlier Batman movies, which, I mean, after the second one really, takes a dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think the third movie suffers from Heath Ledger's death. If he had been alive, it wouldn't have felt like there was a hole in the middle of the movie.
Well, I think he clearly would have been in the movie. I think.
Yeah.
I think it was leading up to him being in that, and God, I wish that could have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I wanted to kind of go over some of those post 9/11 things because we had a time where comedians were coming back on TV and crying because they didn't know how to be funny. Saturday Night Live brought Rudy Giuliani on to say, "Can we be funny?" And he famously replied, "Why start now?"
Yeah, right.
It was really that was a time when Hollywood wasn't sure of what to do next, and then Christopher Nolan just really showed how to hold up a mirror, take that superhero world, create something that's gritty and realistic enough to be our world. And they dealt with things like terrorism, clandestine surveillance, collapsing stock markets, the 1%, vigilantism masquerading as patriotism, and the mass hysteria we were all experiencing as a collective nation.
Widespread surveillance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough one to follow.
In terms of best reboot?
Yeah.
I think that... I mean, Bill. What does Bill have to say though? Because he was not as much a fan, so he might have a different but we didn't get to him anyway. So yeah, what's
Bill,
his best?
What do you got?
Okay, I mean, boy, that's a tough one. Okay, I guess it's kind of a reboot, though. If you want to take a look at Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies, or the earlier animated, the first half of Lord of the Rings, and these were great. Now, if they rebooted it again, I'd go see it because it's Tolkien, and I love Tolkien.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a pretty high bar to beat.
Yeah, even Peter Jackson
could reboot something and really add something to it. Then I'm all for it. But the whole reboot centers about what if everybody had vaginas?
Yeah, it's coming. That's coming.
Yeah, I mean, like with the Ghostbusters movie, I'm like, I get it. They don't have penises, but so what?
Yeah. Yeah. See, now the Ghostbusters reboot, I didn't think it was great, but for me it was like I was just relieved it wasn't bad, that it was pretty good. It was funny. It made me laugh a few times. I know this isn't a popular idea, but it also is kind of. It's like a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's like a above par movie, I felt. But everybody compares it to the first two Ghostbusters, and that annoys me because the first Ghostbusters...
I mean, when you're rebooting something, you can't help but compare it to the first one.
Right. Well,
exactly.
Yeah, but my point is the first Ghostbusters is almost perfect. It has that weird sex scene with the ghost in the middle. That's kind of strange.
Right.
But 2 is garbage. It is not a good movie. And I felt like the new one was definitely better than 2. And so I give it a lot of slack based on that. It's 2's not funny at all.
Yeah, I mean, if it had more of a direct tie-in to the original universe,
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would be more prompted to see it. Like if one of them was Bill Murray's niece from the Peter Venkman or something,
right,
something where it's kind of a continuation, but it's a new group of characters. I could get behind that.
Yeah,
but if if they're all women and get this, the secretary is Thor, you get it? Oh my god!
Yeah,
that's the big twist.
If you don't get it, they're going to make sure you get it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See, I feel like the first 40 minutes of that movie is pretty great, and then it loses its way in the modern comedy.
Well, does McCarthy start falling down every 5 minutes?
Yeah. And that, you know what? I actually did a while back, I did my own reimagining, and I knew that Dan Aykroyd had been talking about an all-female Ghostbusters a long time ago, so I kind of knew that was a possibility. And I figured that the best way to do it was to keep the same 4 character types, because if you're going to bust ghosts, you're either going to be a scientist, a child, a charlatan, or just a blue-collar like guy. And so I tried to think of who would be good as a charlatan, and the only person I could come up with female-wise was Melissa McCarthy. And that was I was disappointed that, like, in the trailer,
they didn't use her like that, though, right?
Right, and the trailer has the line, she gets slapped in the face, she says, "That's going to leave a mark," which is like Disney Channel first draft.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's right out of Tommy Boy, too.
Yeah. We're taking...
Because these things aren't written, it's all ad-libbed. It's all improvised.
Yeah, but
we'll just get funny people and they'll just riff, and it's like we'll use the best ones. It's like, that's the Judd Apatow. Thank you, Judd Apatow. We don't write comedy movies anymore. That might be a whole other podcast right there.
See, now
that's the thing. I mean, you have to have the right people in there. Not that they weren't the right people, but I mean, it's lazy writing to a point. I mean, you want to kind of write it. If someone's got something to add to it or an improvement on it, by all means, bring it in. But just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Right.
Just kind of half-assed.
It means you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the improv thing can work when you've got a Christopher Guest, even an Adam McKay. I mean, I was on the set for Anchorman 2, and it was kind of a disappointing movie. It was just too long and kind of direction.
Well, you weren't in it enough, too. And
I wasn't in it enough, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But watching the process was amazing, because Adam McKay and Judd Apatow were just coming up with so many funny things and just feeding them to Will, and he was coming up with his own thing. And, it's like a 5-minute scene, and they spent, like 10 hours just developing as many different funny things for him to do in that period. I think if you've got somebody that's more talented, that's feeding ideas and keeping the spark alive, and I don't think that was there for part of that movie. Stella, what's your favorite reboot?
I'm going to go with Evil Dead.
Oh, that's a good
Interesting
one. Good one. What about Evil Dead?
I thought it was interesting that they finally made the protagonist a female, so I actually have something that I can look forward to as far as seeing a strong female character who's doing something when it was originally intended for that person. So it's difficult for me to have any kind of reference for these new movies like Ghostbusters, where I see these female women who are doing things that are strong and they don't need anybody, they're just doing it because they like it. When you have the reference, which was made in the 80s, male protagonists, and even in Blade Runner, all the females were replicants and used for a specific thing. They looked hot and they were just made to die.
Right. I mean, Princess
Robin
Leia.
Wright was fantastic.
To be fair,
Robin
though, that's
Wright...
what sex robots would be for. I mean, to be hot and to die. I mean,
Right, but there's no other females. There's no other females in there. So there's no other females that I can look to. If I'm looking at Princess Bride for even I love that movie. That is a movie that I grew up on. Princess Buttercup fucking sucks.
She's not a good
I wanted to be Wesley. Now, what kind of thing does that say to me growing up that I want to be Wesley?
Right. Yeah,
you're a tomboy. Great. That says you're a tomboy. That's all that says.
Yeah, but that's fine. Even if I wanted to be a princess, I'm going to grow up and be an idiot.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do. Rewatching some of these movies with a little bit of a more modern
Animal
gaze.
House fucking sucks.
Animal House is all male misogyny. You're correct. They leave the girls in the club. They just book it. There's a lot of there isn't a great representation, and so
they rape a woman.
They do. Yeah, there is some rape, and Revenge of the Nerds has some rape. Even rewatching Blade Runner. Rapey. Watching Blade Runner recently, he like slams her against the wall and says, "You want this? Tell me you want this." It's like, ooh, Dr. Venkman and which I love. Growing as an adult, watching that scene, as a kid, you're like, "Oh, he's silly," and then as an adult, you watch the scene and you're like, "Wow, this guy is really like he's reckless.
He's a creeper. He's a creeper."
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with it in Ghostbusters, honestly, because it goes to show how. If the ghosts weren't real, he would still be making money. He'd be figuring out a way to.
But then you're looking at it in these female women, like in, for instance, Blade Runner. We have Rachel, who's an idiot. Like, look at her. She's like, "Oh, I'm smart. I can do these things." And her initial answer, she seems like a strong, capable person. And then you find out she's a replicant. And then you find out that she's just lost, and the only person she can look towards is Deckard. And then we have these 80s movies that have very amazing and strong protagonists that I feel like a lot of men look to and identify with and want to be like and have those personas, but they're not good for women. And it's not even that I'm going to try and hate on all of them. I do appreciate Harrison Ford. He's amazing. I love Indiana Jones. I love Han Solo, but it's hard for me to want to do better than what we're doing now, especially since what we're doing now feels groundbreaking in the sense that I have these women who are being strong and groundbreaking, like Tina Fey, like Melissa McCarthy, doing these things, and I want them to do better. Leslie Jones gets attacked because she's black. Like, really?
Well, she did. Yeah, she got attacked because she's black and female on Twitter. It was really sad, disappointing, and that's why. But that's why we wanted the movie to be better. I think it's not that we wanted it to be bad. And I like the movie. I just wanted it to be. I feel like they have more talent,
right? And I don't disagree with that. You're right. The beginning of the movie was really solid, but I do feel like Melissa McCarthy and
Kristen
Wiig weren't used the right way because they were used as a straight man. If you want Kristen Wiig to be the straight man, fine. Let her be the straight man because she can do that really well. Let Melissa McCarthy be more eccentric. But the very few times that you could actually see her be that way, she fucking talked about things in her soup. That to me was funny, but it's like literal, it's little, it's tiny, it's insignificant, and it's a throwaway.
It's Kate McKinnon's movie, and if you don't like her style of humor, there's really nobody else for you to latch on to.
Which I didn't at first, and I appreciate her. She's not my type of comic. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Hey, can I touch on two things that Stella made to push back on with the Blade Runner thing? I do want to say real quickly that the thing is that Rachel is stronger than you're giving her credit for because she had she took action and saved Deckard. I mean, she had agency. She made the choice to kill somebody, and you saw how she was struggling with that afterward. That movie is also her journey also into being more human. But also, I would say that Pris is another fantastic character in that movie, who's also very smarter than she gets credit for,
and she looks like a doll,
more emotional.
So you kind of downplay her, but she's like the prototypical Harley Quinn. I think
that's the only thing I could think of is that she is Harley Quinn. Where you do have Harley Quinn, who was the smart doctor. Right? She has a fucking doctorate to be a fucking psychiatrist, right? She has this, and then she turns into this like putty of nothing when it comes to the Joker.
Yeah.
And Robin Wright is fantastic in 2049, and also the girl that plays the Dreamweaver. That's a very, and I don't know if we're going to talk about that movie, but that is an excellent movie, and that does have those roles.
No, and that's the thing that makes me happy about 2049 is that they actually had strong people, and I had to think about it like, okay, well, who are all the women here who are going to represent, who are going to be the leaders of this? You have the princesses back in the 80s, now generals like Leia, who you can look at and have strong female characters who actually mean something, who won't just sit there and be like, oh no, I need somebody to help me with this. Or you have something like The Fifth Element, where you have the key to saving all of humanity needs a man to save her.
Right.
Well, I like the princesses because I get to be the knight, so that's where I put my vote.
I feel like we're talking over Bill. Bill, did you have something else to add?
No, actually, my my call dropped for about 3 minutes.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, we were saying men are awful. They're the worst.
Contributing a lot to it.
No.
No, and what Stella's saying is, I mean, yeah, I totally identify with what she's saying about needing strong role models, and that's great. But it's like they're redoing the Ocean's 11 movie with all females, and
Which
it's
is
Ocean's
stupid.
8.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Did you? Fuck.
Lord of the
see, that's what I'm
Flies.
talking about. That's what I missed.
I know. It's in the 90s.
Yeah.
They're going to redo Harry Potter, too. And I'm like, what?
Lord of the Flies is all women. It doesn't. Yeah, some of these things, it's a gimmick for sure. I mean, with Ghostbusters, I saw it coming, like I said, because Dan Aykroyd had been talking about it. So it didn't shock me. What shocked me was the trailer just was not good. And I went to, I wasn't sure if I was going to see it. And I'm a big Ghost head. And when I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score, it was certified fresh. It was just a 72, I think, at the time. I went to go see the midnight showing of it, and as soon as the first funny line came out, which was, "This is the room where P.T. Barnum invented animal abuse."
Oh.
I just laughed, and I really felt like a relief come over me.
Because you could laugh.
Because it was funny. And
right. It's the fact that there was going to be comedy in it. It wasn't something that you mentally could go, oh, that's entertaining. Oh, that is clever. It's something that you literally could cathartically go, aha.
Yeah, but it was just a 7. I mean, it's not a 10. And that
no,
is
they dropped the ball in
disappointing.
writing. You're right. They dropped the ball.
I felt like Spy was a much better movie.
All you did, Dave, was make the case that, you know, you could watch Nazi camp horror torture documentary tapes as long as there's a couple scenes that make you laugh in there, then you're fine.
Isn't
you're
that
okay.
Schindler's List? There's a couple of really funny parts. No, really. Yeah. I mean, it's a hard movie to watch, but it makes you laugh at parts, and that's
oh man. I remember sitting there with Dave back in college, and he was it was like he was watching a Mel Brooks movie. He did not stop laughing through that entire
Springtime for Hitler. No,
anything
on.
else to add, Bill? Bill, are you there?
Let's
I'm here.
Okay.
Let's talk about our worst favorite reboot, unless we've already done that. I guess I'll start because we've kind of already talked about. So we talked about Christopher Nolan. I think that we went in another direction that was very strange with the same franchise, basically, which was, okay, so we reacted to 9/11. We had this emotional reaction with Bruce Wayne following him. And then we get Man of Steel, where Superman's just blowing through buildings. There's smoke. It looks like 9/11 over and over and over again in that movie. There's no care or consideration for all of the people that are dying. The only message is, this guy's Jesus, over and over and over again. He kills somebody, and then Bruce Wayne in the next movie just rebuilds within a week. It's like his backstory is that he's upset that 9/11 happened, but there's no emotional impact because it's so turned up to 11 the whole time.
Hang on. Now, I will make I'll just make the point that at the very beginning of the movie, you do see how Bruce is going like, what the fuck, Superman? And is just looking at how much tragedy there really is.
But it's so Transformers. It's so Michael Bay.
I get it. And then Christopher Nolan, after the Man of Steel came out, did realize like afterwards, like hindsight was just like, oh, you're right. That's not what I was trying to convey, but I can see how that is there.
Are you saying that Bruce Wayne is the Halliburton of the DC universe?
Yes, definitely.
Basically, he might be.
In the Snyder movies, for sure. Mike, you like these movies. Defend them.
I like the I'm split so 50-50 with Man of Steel because I hate half of it and I love the action scenes. I think the aesthetic and the visuals of the Batman v Superman are what make it. I think it's one of the most gorgeous looking and it shows you things from angles that you want to see in a superhero movie. And to me, they're beautiful to look at, and the scores are amazing. I think they're utter garbage plot wise, but I could just turn my brain off and I really like the visuals.
Bill, what did
my guilty pleasure.
What do you think of the DCU, Bill?
I mean, I'm more of a Marvel guy, I guess, when it comes to the comic movies.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
But as far as the Superman reboots go, you know, there's only one Terrence Stamp, and you can't reboot a movie with Terrence Stamp in it and not have Terrence Stamp in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there wasn't a really good villain. I mean, he was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking like movies, you know, the best supervillain movie, without a doubt, is The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think the best superhero movie is probably X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. Definitely love it.
So, I mean, I'll go see any superhero movie, even that drizzling shitstorm Suicide Squad. I thought was just
Tell
us how you really feel, Bill.
it's so bad.
Yeah.
And Jared Leto Joker, I mean, just awful. I would rather see Cesar Romero's Joker in there.
Yeah.
Than Jared Leto.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed in Killer Croc. Like, he's one of my favorite villains. Don't ask me why, because I can't actually give you a good reason. But he really is just one of my favorite villains. Probably because he is simplistic.
He's tragic.
That and just the simplicity of him being a villain. Like, he accidentally got turned into this part crocodile man and is actually really okay with it. All right, I'm down. And then you turn him into this very stereotypical, almost Transformer-y hip-hop thing.
Yeah, it's nothing is worse, I think, though, than Jared Leto and Margot Robbie's so good in that movie, and
well, she's just good in general.
Their romance being played up like a real legit love story just is.
Hashtag relationship goals.
But is it that she's so good in that movie, or that everyone else is so bad in the movie?
Well, no, I enjoyed watching her and Will Smith. I just did not enjoy any other aspect of that movie. That's why I rate it higher than Batman versus Superman. Yes, Wonder Woman is fine in BVS.
Just fine.
Well, she's the best part of that movie, but I still didn't really enjoy watching it at all, even when she was in it. Now, watching Wonder Woman was fantastic. That's a good movie.
Great.
But what about you, Stella? What's your least favorite reboot?
I actually kind of have a tie right now. It's either between The Mummy or it's Spider-Man. Because I really like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I did not like, what's his face? Andrew Garfield.
McCarthy.
Yeah, and even though he was excellent in
McCarthy.
Hacksaw Ridge, Andrew Garfield was not my Spider-Man. No, he's too cool.
Yeah.
He's too cool for school.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. This isn't really a bad remake, but if we're talking, I mean, a sequel that's basically a remake,
Right.
Blues Brothers 2000.
Yeah.
It was exactly the same movie, with a much less talented Belushi in it.
And they kept changing out the Belushi to get, it was like John Goodman, and there was like another guy and then another guy. Yeah, that's.
I know that's going to piss off the According to Jim regiment that listens to the show, but can't stand Jim Belushi.
But Dave, if I apply your standards, now I did see the scene where they had like the multi-police car pileup where it
That's
was
the
just
only
endless.
scene.
It was like,
That's the only scene.
but it made me laugh. So isn't it a good movie then?
But it's one scene. It's one scene. Yeah. I mean,
So one scene does not redeem the movie.
No, not that movie.
I laughed like a lunatic at that Vacation movie that came out a couple years ago.
Yeah.
The remake of that.
Terrible movie, but I laughed violently at it.
Yeah.
But it was just awful movie.
So wait, if I start laughing at Man of Steel, does that make it a better movie?
I couldn't
Is
even
it so
laugh.
bad it's funny?
Mike.
Yeah.
What do you got,
Yes.
Mike? What do you got?
See, I don't have much to offer because the way I see it is with remakes is I really stay away from them. Like something like Poltergeist, that's one of my favorite movies of all time anyways. And to see that they remade it, it's like, I don't need to subject myself, and apparently nobody else needed to either because it didn't do that well. So when it's a remake of like a bona fide classic, like the Karate Kid movie, with Will Smith's kid and Jackie Chan, it's like I'm not going to I'm going to imagine that those are the worst remakes. How about that?
Do you mean the Karate Kid movie that has no karate in it?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's
racist, right? That they did that. They just assumed
Appropriation?
Yeah, I mean it's all kung fu. So
cultural. Yeah.
yeah, you're right. You are right. Yeah, that's. I have to go with you on those. It was just hard for me to even get partly through Karate Kid. I watched like the first cut, and I got to Jackie Chan, and I was like, oh, if he makes the movie better, and he didn't. And
That's
so
what I was
stopped.
hoping for, because it's Jackie Chan. How do you make a kung fu movie with Jackie Chan in it bad? Evidently, that's how you put Jaden Smith in it.
Yeah, he's so wooden.
Well, and here's another one because of what happened before that made it so good. But the Die Hard series, you take the first two and then you look at like what it's really come to. It's like the fact that they keep punching nose out is just awful.
Well,
you just want him to die already.
They forget what made the character interesting. Yeah. He's interesting because he's flawed and he's a guy against insurmountable odds, and then all of a sudden he's just a quip. He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that doesn't work.
Wait, he's Superman?
Yeah, he's basically Superman in the later movie.
His thing was he wasn't indestructible because he bled and he got injured and he hurt and it sucked and it was miserable and that's all gone.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but if it wasn't for Alan Rickman, would that movie even have a sequel?
You're right.
I mean, he was so good in it.
He was.
Yeah. What if it was Pierce Brosnan that was playing that character?
Would have a good movie.
I agree. The hero's only as good as the villain.
I don't know if I could take Pierce Brosnan being in that movie.
What if it was Pierce Brosnan instead of Alan Rickman? That would have been straight to video.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, that's another one of those franchises where the second one is considered so great and it's not good. But the third one's pretty good.
It's really good.
The second one's terrible.
It's so wrapped on what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that's what's cool about the new Blade Runner. It's a second one 30 years later, and it's like Godfather 1 and 2 with 30 years between them. It's
Do you think they have enough to do another one if they wanted to? And I'm saying this in the sense of like a Mad Max, Ian, because I really loved Mad Max.
That's another great reboot, and it's the same. It's the same
director,
filmmaker, auteur.
That's what this movie did for me. Is because I didn't like the trailers. I didn't like the idea. I was really not looking forward to this, honestly, because I love Blade Runner. And when I saw it and I was in a theater and I was immersed in that world again, I then had the idea. It's like, you know what? They got it. They totally did it. And it's like, how maybe they could do something. Like they just blew my mind. So they have that ability to blow my mind again. Like I trust them. I'll say that I trust if it's the same kind of creative team. Like Denis Villeneuve has to be. I hope he would be directing it if that's the case. It's a magnificent movie.
Yeah, I'm almost hoping that George Miller comes back and does another Babe. Just to see what he can do.
Yeah. Can Cromwell come back?
Oh,
is he a ghost at this point?
What if Babe busts Cromwell out of jail? Isn't he?
Oh, that's a great idea. And it's the third. It's where the pig dies, and as he's dying, Cromwell's crying. He's saying, "That'll do, pig." Yeah.
Cut to.
Why wouldn't they both die at the same time?
He's eating a nice breakfast the next morning.
Yeah.
Oh. So cinematic universes are the big thing now because everybody wants to just have a cash cow like Marvel. Disney is milking Star Wars. That blue milk that Aunt Beru was serving is every year we have another Star Wars movie. And the prequels will no longer be the worst of the Star Wars movies because you just can't hold it up for that long, I think. But
dude, that's a long way to go, though. Those are pretty bad. Those are pretty
terrible. They are terrible.
You got to try for that.
So what cinematic universe are you all in for? And what cinematic universe do you just wish they'd stop already?
Transformers
is your favorite?
Fucking Hasbro needs to go away. Stop it. Little Soldiers remake. Oh God, Marky Mark, no, stop it.
And people keep coming back. They keep making money. Yeah, although I think the last one finally died.
Yeah, that's what we said 2 movies ago.
I would love it if there could be no more Pacific Rim movies.
Oh, I'm with you.
But that looks so good.
No, I'm with you. I didn't understand.
That first movie, halfway through it, is like, oh yeah, don't forget we've got a 100-foot sword we could pull out.
Yeah, I was so bored by that.
You think you want to lead with that?
Yeah.
And then the King Kong Godzilla movies, I think of the same thing because I'm just not a giant monster fighting in a city. That doesn't do it for me. Lost World didn't do it for me. You can't just have giant monsters fighting and say, oh, but it's worth it just for that. No, it doesn't work.
If they let Chris Pratt. If they let Chris Pratt be Chris Pratt, that movie would have been a lot better.
Yeah, it would have. But Mike, I know you've got this. You're dying.
Well, your favorite would be Godfather. Not like the place that I would want to live and be in, but in terms of like just the full realization of it, the music and all that. The worst thing, honestly, I wish they would stop making the Marvel movies. I think they don't get it. I think they make really. Because there's a lot of takedown videos on there, which I agree with. They didn't really like they put into words a lot of what I felt, and in terms of like the scores are lame because that's how they have them set up. The visual style of these movies is really lame. Like when you watch a Marvel movie, you really don't get a sense of who the director is. Shane Black would be an exception to that, but that's the one thing I do like with the DC movies is they give their directors a freer hand to have a creative input on it, and with the Marvel movies, to me, are just boring. They're just
you kind of got a point in that. Zack Snyder definitely put his shit stain all over Batman.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Didn't Zack Snyder do everything? Isn't he the helm of it all?
Out after 300.
Yeah. Yeah.
What great post 300 movie has Zack Snyder made?
I enjoyed Watchmen.
Watchmen was watchable.
Yeah.
Watchmen was like that was competent. That he didn't that wasn't a disaster.
Definitely. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but it was like a shot for shot remake of the comic, and that was to its detriment
until the end.
But it was pretty good. I thought the ending of the movie was actually better than the comic, but a lot of comic fans are going to hate me for that.
You know, if you're Superman, you got a spear that can kill this thing. Why don't you throw it?
Yeah,
that's what I was wondering.
Or fly, let it go.
Right.
Gotta have a cheap way to kill him.
Martha. No, I got to disagree with you, Mike, because I think that every time I go see a new Marvel movie, I tend to think, well, this will probably be the one that sucks. And what they've done really well is they've taken these characters right off the page that I didn't care about in the comics. And I'm a comic guy, but like Doctor Strange, snooze fest. And then I watched the movie and I felt it was unique and interesting. It told me every reason I should love that character. And so it's actually helping me build up a library that's a little bit more extensive.
Well, I think it's easier when you have Marvel who's trying to invest in people that actually love the character and actually make those movies. Just like with Wonder Woman. The director loves Wonder Woman, so everything she did with Wonder Woman was about how much she meant to her personally and what she wanted to see in videos. So when you have a director or even somebody who's a strong influence, maybe not exactly the director, but can actually tell you the story they want you to know, then yeah, of course the movie's going to be a lot better. I mean, the first Iron Man is amazing. The second Iron Man, not so much, but that's okay.
3 was great.
Second one sucks. But you're right, though. I mean, they raised the material that they're emotionally invested in it.
Right.
But I think go the other way, too, because look at Nick Cage, Ghost Rider. I mean, goddamn.
Look at who? Daredevil? Who? Elektra? Who?
Well, yeah, Elektra's boring. Yeah.
I either did not watch or stopped watching at one point almost all the Netflix series for Marvel. I did make it through all the way of Daredevil 1.
Jessica Jones is amazing. You watched that.
Jessica Jones,
Daredevil 1 and 2 is fantastic.
Yeah.
I did like Daredevil.
Which one?
The Daredevil.
The 2 seasons of Daredevil, yeah.
Yeah. And that...
I'm not a fan of the comic. I don't like the comic book at all, but I love this series.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
See, and for me, it's not that I'm a Marvel fanboy, but Batman is my favorite superhero. My second favorite's Punisher. I go back and forth between them as long as it's a good story.
Punisher was
I want to read it. I thought Wonder Woman is one of the top 10
movies.
You got Nolan, you got Wonder Woman, but these other movies, they just don't compare. And Marvel tends to... Yeah, they have a lot of people working on their scripts. It's like a movie by committee, but they tend to hit the notes a lot better.
So I have a feeling that Marvel has kind of kicked off having people who invest into their characters, because you have Kenneth Branagh who did the first Thor, right? I don't really care about the first Thor. The second Thor was very... I know, he's amazing. I didn't care about the first 2 Thors, but then this new Thor that's coming up actually looks like somebody gave a fuck.
Well, they're going with the 70s.
There's no Natalie Portman, that's why.
It could be.
Hey, Black Swan was amazing.
Yeah, but the prequels.
But I think Stella, you're almost making a point I would make with the Marvel movies is it took you 3 movies deep, and then the thing that you're excited for is the thing that you saw the trailer for, which it looks funny, it looks entertaining, but it might make you feel as blah as the other Thor movies. But you're talking like 3 movies in deep on a character, and you're still kind of meh. Yeah, and that's kind of my point about the Marvel universe is it's just kind of meh anymore.
But
like
that's
one character. You're talking about a whole cinematic universe where I'm already invested into Iron Man. I really appreciate him. Doctor Strange was actually really, really good. I went into it with no expectations. Ant-Man, I didn't like.
It was funny. It was great.
No, I liked Ant-Man. I just didn't like the main character.
Paul Rudd's character.
Paul Rudd. Thank you.
Well, if Edgar Wright had stuck with it, you can feel the parts that he had worked on the script because they worked really well, and at least
Inner Space and Honey, I Shrunk the Kid were more inventive movies than that was.
For sure. That was
it didn't happen.
Hey man, that train scene was awesome in Ant-Man.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was an Edgar Wright, I'm sure.
No.
So I want to,
but you're forgetting it's Ant-Man, and this isn't. Give me a break. It's fucking Ant-Man. It's a good movie.
Yeah,
for what it is.
Right. I totally agree with you. I think they made the movie so they could put him in the movies, and that's the thing. That is the dead part, the dead-eyed part of Disney. is that they're just churning it out so that we'll do a Boba Fett one. People like him. We'll do a Chewbacca movie standalone.
That's what I'm saying. We're doing it to ourselves. And by the way, Blade Runner's going to totally bomb. It's just not made for this audience, and that's unfortunate.
No, it will. It'll do better.
Well, we went to the theater, and it was all guys my age. Stella looked around and pointed it out to me.
Exactly.
All white guys with glasses and bald spots.
And there was a couple of females. There's an article going around online that's talking about how men need to stop pushing Blade Runner on their girlfriends.
That must have been an onion on.
It was not. It was a real one.
Oh, and that's sad. It's a great movie.
I started reading it, and that's where it occurred to me that the females were replicants, because I watched the first movie, and albeit it was not good timing for me because I was really tired. But
the thing about Blade Runner is everybody that isn't a mutant is off-world.
I understand. I get that. So you're telling me that all the remaining women there are already neglected so much that you have to have a replicant?
They've been taken off-world. The only people left, there are... Anyway, we can go...
That's not true. There's the great unwashed masses that live underneath the city, and that's like they're walking through the marketplace. So no, they have an underclass. It's just most people are underclass.
Right, they're the poor, the minority, they're the whatever.
They're dwarves. They have one eye. If you watch it and you look for...
And they're Asians, too. Are you saying there's something wrong with that, Dave?
No, actually, I do
Dave,
think...
are you saying something wrong with Asians?
You could probably make a better case. You could probably make a better case that the movie's not as nice to immigrants. Because,
or minorities.
Yeah, because people that speak other languages, well, they're there because they speak another language.
I think what's missing from this movie is hot robot sex.
Yes. Yeah. That's my takeaway.
Well, you'll see it in this one, my friend. You will see it in this one.
Okay, so let's move on to our last category, which is the movie or franchise or whatever that you would like to reboot. If you were given the opportunity to make a film and the stipulation was you have to do a reboot, you can't do an original property. Let's say that. What would
Can it be a continuation?
Sure, it could be a continuation, yes.
Okay.
So what would you bring back, Stella?
All right, so I'm going to go with total hipster points on this. I'm going to go for Mystery Men.
Oh.
That would be a good one. That would be fun.
And I love the first one.
Yeah, it's really great. I have that one on DVD still. That's how long I've had it.
Yeah.
Gave that away.
Flat vintage Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about that? What would you do with it? How would you make it your own?
I didn't put thought into it. That's just the one I would do.
That's just what I want to see.
Was it perfect already?
But you're right, though. I mean, the casting in in that movie, it's so perfect. I really don't know that I would change anything so much as I would like to bring them back.
Yeah.
And do okay.
One. Continuation, then. You would want a sequel.
Like an Incredibles version. They're all older.
Oh, the Pixar formula where they're older and they have to overcome something? Got you.
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather use Jim Carrey method of waiting 30 years cool. and then doing the sequel.
But then does it mean if you get a strike, everyone dies? Like,
I like that. What do you got, Stella?
Like it's difficult, and I guess part of me really, because I deeply love Princess Bride, and I really would want to see either a sequel, maybe a reboot of it, and I'm also very tempted to have that or Little Shop of Horrors as a gender swap. And mostly because you do have these very fantastic characters on all sides, both men, women, young, old, whatever. But I do think it's fun, at least especially with Little Shop of Horrors, if you want to play with the reversal of it. If you have a man who's just being beaten down by his girlfriend, just because that is definitely a thing that happens.
That would be different. Nobody would talk about it.
Right. Yeah. You have that going on. You have the woman who's struggling and who's going through something. So you can have definitely a character who's flawed in the sense of, I'm unsure, I don't know what to do with this, the insecurity that we always all play on, but in a different aspect of it. So I think a gender swap Little Shop of Horrors would be wonderful, or even just like the Princess Bride one would be another wonderful thing, either as same moral or gender swap, because then you have a female who's super strong, who's super smart and amazing and wants to do this stuff, and then by the end of it becomes, you can see the flaw of the heroic thing where I need to do good, and then always is running away from the law.
I think if you just make Inigo a woman,
that would work too.
That would work.
You could have that. I don't know who you would get to play Andre the Giant though, because that's Andre the Giant, man.
That's not the character's name.
No, it's not.
China died too, didn't she?
Yeah, no, you're right. China's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but there's some big guys. You get John Cena and you just make him look bigger.
You could do that too, or you can get
Batista.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The Big Show.
Yeah.
But I think those two would be good.
Yeah. I like the idea of a female dentist because it would be a dominatrix character, and it would be she would seduce you into the chair and then she'd yank all your teeth out. We got to bring Bill Bruni back.
You have a hard time beating Steve Martin, though.
Oh, he could play the part.
Yeah. He could be just like what Bill Murray did. He could be one of the people in it.
Oh, that would be
I don't know if he'd want to do it. And then I don't know.
Really into comedy, so.
I don't know who you would cast as a Rick Moranis type thing. Like it's because there's just so many females that have that kind of potential, but you have to have
Felicia
the lovable.
Day. Yeah,
I get no. She's too hot.
Not a big enough.
She's so obviously hot.
Rick Moranis was a hot young.
Keep going.
Okay, anyway.
You keep on going. Tell me more.
Mike, did we already do your Mike? I forget.
No. We have not touched on Mike.
I would want to do a sequel in the James Bond universe because I think they're really misusing the best actor to play James Bond. I think they're 1 for 4. I think what was the first movie? The first movie.
Man, but I love
Casino
Skyfall.
Royale.
I'd love
Casino
Skyfall.
Royale.
Casino Royale was slightly boring for me, though. Sorry,
it's not just a great Bond movie; it's a great action movie. And these last 3 movies they've done with him, I think they're just wasted opportunity. I think they got a great Bond, and they're not using him the right way.
It's interesting because I just watched some of the documentaries on the Kingsmen, and one of the things that he said was they were going to do a Batman Begins of Bond, which is funny because that's what we kind of talked about earlier. And yet we never saw the origin story of James Bond. And so he came up with Kingsmen because he wanted to see what young James Bond would have looked like. So I think that there are some really interesting directions you could take Bond. That's a good idea. It's interesting you mentioned Little Shop of Horrors because the what I would want to do is a remake in the style of that. So Little Shop was a remake. What? It was a reboot
of original play, yeah, and it was not very good.
No, it was a reboot of the terrible movie Little Shop of Horrors. And so what I want to do is I want to take another classic, terrible cinematic masterpiece from the 60s, Santa Claus versus the Martians, and I want to turn it into a fun, campy musical. And it would be about Christmas today. And it would start with the news, like you'd be watching Fox News, basically, and all these different political pundits are singing, "We need a little Christmas," and it's all about the war on Christmas. And so Santa Claus gets kidnapped by these Martians, and it's a real war on Christmas. I think that would be a fun way to do commentary and camp and that.
What about a reboot of that Kiss movie, but with ICP?
Oh, Phantom of the Park?
Yeah. That's
Playing Clown Posse. I'd watch that.
That is brilliant. And Slipknot, they could just slip them in too. I don't know why. That's great. Okay, well, I really appreciate everybody's time. I think that we've taken an escape away from the world today. We've slipped into that theater, gotten into that lull, the zone that you go into where you just give yourself over to the filmmakers. And I really appreciate you, Bill, coming on. If you haven't already...
Hey, no problem at all.
Yes, if you haven't already listened to Bill's comedy special, download it right now, iTunes. It is called A Sack Full of Gummy Bears. It will have you laughing so hard that the gummy bears will fall out of your rolls if you're anything like me. Mike Maletic, thank you so much for coming on the show. Stella, as always, thank you. Please tune in next time to #Matters, where our subject will be something else.